Hello everyone, this is Laco S, and welcome back to Sinai, where we're going to go over the final of the first impressions videos for our tours around the map. I'll give this map a year or two, and then I'll probably go back and do a tour of the map, seeing what's changed, seeing what's got updated. But for right now, we're just going to get started here on our final tour of the moment. Thank you. We are at Ramon Air Base in Israel, on the far side of the Sinai map. We started off in one of those hangars, and indeed, like I was thinking about in those last videos, it is actually big enough to fit a Strike Eagle. This is the F-15C regular Eagle, obviously, but Strike Eagle isn't that much larger, so this should actually work for both variants. It's telling me to go to 25 right. We're just going to see if we can take 25 left. So I'm trying to think here. Yeah, there's no... I'm a bit confused. What does it mean by 25 right? Let me double check the map. I'm not familiar with this airbase. Oh, the 25 right's... Oh, so 25 right is the shorter of the two runways. 25 left is the longer of the two, so we'll go ahead and just take the 25 left. If this was an actual air base, I'd take 25 right like the ATC told me to, but no one else is here. I am literally the only one on the field. So there we are. I have 3 bags on me today, so we should have plenty of fuel to do our mission. Yada, yada, yada. We're clearing ourselves for takeoff. Bit better back pressure. Point the aircraft up 10 degrees. And lift off, gear up. Double checking flaps are... Oh, okay, there we go. Alright, we don't need to get too high up. So let's see here, navigation. Alright, so we're going to navigate to waypoint 1, which should be, I believe, south of us. So let's head there, and I'll quickly go over our route. There's our HSI right there, and there's our heading bug up there on the HUD finally. Alright. Kind of still low, so let's pull up. Now that we have a bit more speed, we'll pull up. Try to climb to a little bit higher altitude. We do need to be, even though we still have 3 bags with us, we still want to be relatively careful with fuel usage. We don't want to completely run out of fuel halfway through our trip. That'd be kind of embarrassing. We don't need to be super... We don't need to, on the other hand, we don't need to be overly concerned, because we do have 3 bags, so... Let's try to... There we go. We are slowing up. So we'll come down. Get back on course as we come back down. We're starting to regain speed. Starting to regain speed. I'll punch our burners for a little bit. Get airspeed up a little bit faster. There was an artifact just now, I think. Or something just weird happened. There we go. Alright, 12,000 feet. Not the most... Not the best climb, but then again, I'm not really focusing on flying perfectly today. I'm just focusing more on the outside world, seeing what's out there. Alright, autopilot's on. Hopefully. So let's take a look outside. In fact, I can actually use the mouse, because this is a flaming, the F-15C is a flaming Eclipse 3 aircraft. We can actually use the mouse to look around. So this is the Sinai portion of the map. So, lots of sand dunes, lots of sand, lots of rocks. And it does actually, in the actual terrain, looks pretty good. Zoom in a little bit. So you have the occasional town out in the middle of nowhere. Occasional stream going out all the way to the ocean. I wonder what that is. Yeah. That's an interesting tower, but whatever it is, it is. Do believe that's the Dead Sea over there. Either it's the Dead Sea or it's the I think that's the Dead Sea up there. And then we go down here. See lots of sand, lots of rock. It looks really good. I can imagine a lot of really interesting battles happening around here because you have these. It's not like it's not entirely flat, but it's flat enough that you can have long-range combat with also it being with enough crevices and cover for being able to sneak in for close-range engagements on the ground. So there are going to be a lot of interesting options here for setting up tank battles and all sorts of battles here between Israel and Egypt over their many wars. Or even trying to come up with fictional engagements over this map. You can have a lot of fun trying to come up with fictional engagements for various sides to engage in. Alright, we are... Let's head out to the... We're starting to climb again, so let's try to get our altitude to be somewhat arrested. Zoom out our view. Fuel looks good. Yeah, we got plenty of gas. Fuel flow rate's also good, so if we can keep up like roughly like 90% RPMs, well RPM, not RPMs, RPM, we should be fine. And our navigation waypoint, I put it over that town up ahead. It's an Israeli port town up ahead. And basically Egypt, we actually are technically flying over Egypt right now, but pretty much right at the border of that town is where Egypt and Israel meet. And there's actually sort of like a mini resort town / port over there on the very tail end of Egypt. Double check the map for its name. I'm still learning all the names. Aliyat? Nah, I don't think that's it. No, Aliyat. Yeah, that's it. Aliyat. I think that's Aliyat. Probably butchering that pronunciation, but you actually there actually is a little bit of a resort town, and it looks like there are things modeled in there, so we can go ahead, orbit around low, see what's down there before we head on out further to the south and west. Also, it looks like we're coming across a Israeli air base here. Oh, there it is. It's coming off our past our canopy. Well, it's covered up by our canopy bow right now, but if we look past that mirror and over down here, so there's another Israeli air base. This is probably the southernmost Israeli air base on the map. You have the hardened aircraft shelters there. You can kind of tell because there's just tiny like little scribbles and everything else looks camouflaged into the actual surrounding area. 2 runways. 1 shorter one, 1 longer one. I'm starting to suspect that the longer runway is meant for landing and the shorter runway is meant for takeoff. Just a hunch I have. But lots of hardened aircraft shelters. Obviously, being near the border with Egypt, if something were to happen, it would come under attack fairly regularly, so they would want to protect as many of their aircraft as possible, whereas the air bases further up north don't need as many hardened shelters, because they would just park their aircraft out in the open and be relatively safe. Relatively, mind you. And there's that Israeli airbase of, I believe it was called Ovda. Let's see if we can do some visual recon on this resort town up ahead. So we'll go ahead. Our HSI is pointing off 15 degrees. So we'll go ahead and turn 14-0. We'll see if we can approach it from the north. Okay, there we go. A little bit higher. There is a sort of, I do have to say, there is a very we have actually quite a few desert maps. Nevada, Sinai here, Syria, and Persian Gulf. And I think of all of the desert maps, I think Sinai here really takes the cake for having the coolest desert terrain, I think. Sinai is pretty good. Syria is pretty good. Persian Gulf is starting to show its age, but it's solid in most areas. Nevada needs a lot of love. But that's pretty obvious. It's been a map that they haven't touched. It's been a map that's older now than... Technically, the Nevada map is now older than the Caucasus map. So... that's just how it is. And we're going to cut back on the throttle by quite a bit because we don't want to... we don't want to go super fast and then not see what's there. So cut back on the throttles there. And we're going to look over our right side and see what there is to see. Zoom in. Some solar panels. I want to say those are maybe go-kart tracks. Like, this is a resort town, so maybe they have some, like, go-kart tracks or parking lots. Some fairground buildings. Some resort hotels with their pools. I think that's in there supposed to be a, like a marina. And then you have all these, like, resort towns, like all these resort hotels. Lots of pools, lots of tennis courts. I do like that. That's a very good way to have a to showcase like a lot of like smaller resort hotels. You don't need to model every single resort hotel, but you can just model a couple with that, and it looks pretty good. I like the fact they added tennis courts. That's a unique. That's a little unique thing they added for DCS. It's pretty cool. There's no real special buildings, but it does actually look fairly good. I do love their wave effects. I do. Now, granted, the wave effects don't look quite as sharp and, like, cool when you're down low. But up high, it looks really good. Even at, when Angels were at, like, even at 2,000 feet, that effect looks pretty good. And just the other side of the town, well, city. There's a little port there to handle cargo, so you don't have to go all the way through Suez Canal and around that way. There's 2 little ports to either side. And I do believe that... yeah, there's a little river, something that goes down the middle. I do believe that that is actually technically Egyptian, and this is Israeli over here. I know that the Israeli-Egyptian border is very close to this area. So, there is that. And it looks like there's actually a unique building over there. We'll fly over it. It might be just a fuel tank, and I'm just imagining things. But we'll fly over it, because in that general direction... no, there's just a fuel tank, because there's a whole bunch over there. So... zoom out, and let's continue on to our next waypoint. Oh, already been selected, which is good. Kick burners on for a short while and zoom up and do a bit of a zoom climb up to at least 15, Angels 15. And try to get into this thinner air. Try to get to a part where our aircraft isn't going to chew up as much gas on this long-haul flight out there. Plus, we get a nice commanding view this high up. Sorry, so now we're heading to the Mount Sinai area. Very infamous throughout various. I think it's in the Old Testament. It's the infamous mountain. Where I think, yeah, that's where they got the 10 Commandments from. So we'll go ahead and see what it's like in real, and the sim, anyways. Trim down. Trim out for level flight. Double check. Oh, we're still in burner. We want to get out of burner. Get our fuel flow down to something. That's pretty reasonable. 65. 64, 50 pounds per hour. That's pretty. It is pounds per hour, right? Yep, pounds per hour. And we have 2,000 pounds. We'll be good. We're not going to be flying for more than an hour, especially since we're going for nearly 400 indicated. Yeah, we'll be good. So we'll come south of the mountain and hook up. So we're in a good spot there. Alright, so now that we're all hooked up for a level flight, something I should also mention on the other side of Israel there, this entire coast here is actually Saudi Arabia, southern half. And I do believe somewhere out in this arc here would be the Persian Gulf map. But it's a very, very, very long way out that way. So, do keep, so that is a thing. Now, I do remember that, I believe it was somewhere either in this very gulf, gulf here, or out there in more of the actual Red Sea out there, there was actually a carrier strike wing, no, full carrier wing, and their aircraft carrier were based out of here, and they actually flew from here into Iraq for Desert Storm. It was they didn't want to. I guess they didn't want to put all their carrier groups out in the Persian Gulf, which honestly makes sense. So they had one carrier group out there, and I think one carrier group over here. And then from the carrier group out here, they actually launched into Iraq, sort of from its south and west. This is for, but right here, we're on the other side, the other kind of, not really end, but on the other side of the Middle East. Over Syria, over Saudi Arabia, and we're flying over Egypt for sure for right now. A little bit of a port town there. A little bit of farming going on in the middle. Some little industrial area. And sort of the desolate, not necessarily wasteland, it's very much like a desert of the Sinai Peninsula. We're starting to get to the more mountainous terrain. So Sinai, the northern half is very flat, but the lower half of Sinai is very much this mountainous, craggy area with lots of sand. And we somehow climbed up past 2,000, which is, I mean, okay. I mean, we're gonna burn way less fuel up here. We don't need to be this high up. So there we go. So, all right, zoom out a little bit, and let's see here. It's a good angle. Let's put the camera here for a little bit, and we'll just wait until we're quite a bit closer. Alright, let's switch over here to this side. So I do actually have 3D camera view. That's right. Keep on forgetting I actually have 3D camera view in addition to being able to rotate my head, also move my head laterally and vertically inside the cockpit. So let's go over here on this side and see if we can see what's out this way, because I do believe we're starting to actually see the end of the Sinai Peninsula. So there's the Red Sea out that way. There's a couple of islands out there beyond Sinai into the Red Sea. So it looks like that's the tip of Sinai out that way. The Sinai Peninsula is out that way. And I think the Sinai Peninsula is... Mount Sinai is somewhere around here. Let's get our regular... Let's see here. So it looks like we're 4 miles over this way. Somewhere over here it is. Honestly, I can't really tell. I might have to get a I might have to actually get a helicopter, or not. Actually, not a helicopter. That wouldn't be too good because it's the high altitude. But I might have to get a Yak 52. There is actually a small airport out here that I can fly out of to actually find Mount Sinai and fly around it. But it is around this section of the world right here. It's one of these larger mountain peaks in this area. Just a bit hard to find because it's not like it's not like it doesn't really have any telltale features, so to speak. So it's behind us. So it might even be technically, well, the waypoint is technically behind us now. But before I go switching nav waypoints, I want to see if we're flying near. Ah, there it is. So there's the there's a small like mini airport out there. It's like a local airport out there, and there's actually a town that we are flying directly over. So this is basically the biggest town or settlement in the Sinai area, St. Catherine. So this is very much sort of a kind of like a religious pilgrimage center. I do believe Mount Sinai is there for... So it's one of these mountains. I think it's one of those mountains like right there that we're coming down right here, we're coming down to. So it's right in this area is Mount Sinai. And that's St. Catherine. The town of St. Catherine. And I want to say this thing we're about to fly. No, that's like a little building area and park. Oh, there it is. Right on the nose. Right where my HUD is. Right below my velocity vector. That's St. Catherine Airport. It's a civilian airport, and it's kind of one of those civilian municipal airports where there's a little bit of a parking down there, but you kind of have to taxi onto the runway to get to the end of the runway to take off. So, nice little small civilian airport. Probably serves local tourists trying to get to the town of St. Catherine and Mount Sinai itself. Alright. Let's increment their waypoint to waypoint 3. It says we'll get there in 5 minutes. If we head there straight, which we are working on. Now, it keeps on saying it's to our left. I think I put this one out on the water. What's our fuel state like? We're doing pretty good on fuel. We actually don't want to land with a lot of fuel. The F-15E takes, the F-15C and E carry a lot of internal fuel, and as such, they're pretty heavy. And also then, as such, if they come into land and they have too much internal fuel on board, they're just gonna take forever to actually aero brake and land. So you definitely want to try to get them relatively light before you land if you can. So now we've got speed. We're gonna climb out, gain altitude again, after we did our low-level recon pass of St. Catherine. I'm gonna go over here. Alright, I think we're doing pretty good. 2000, Angels 20, we're doing pretty good. We don't need to go any higher or faster. We're gonna come off a burner again. 16,000, that'll be... We're doing good now. We're back on pace. Alright. 30 miles and quickly going down to our waypoint over here on the coast. We'll follow the this coast right here and head back up north. That, by the way, is mainland Africa over there. So that's mainland Africa and Egypt over there. Sinai, obviously this is now the east coast of Sinai that we are flying towards and soon over. curious. There we go. Figured since we're getting pretty close to Egypt, just for giggles, I turned on ECM. Not like there's any... No, not that I was placed any SAMs in this mission. Fuel flow's good, internal fuel's good. 17 or 16 miles towards the coast. See that you can definitely tell that the cockpit of the C variant of the Eagle is way different than the E variant. There's no really, other than that one MFD right there. That's like the only one you got. Doesn't even. I don't think that MFD can actually even display any other page. Well, at least at the F-15C module that we have, can't display any other pages. Sadly, there's our radar scope right there. Our RWR off to the right. No pilot model, weirdly enough. Just keeping a lookout. See if there's anything interesting that we can find up here, although this is, like I said, by its nature, fairly desolate, so it's not like we're going to find a whole lot of interesting points of interest out this way. 27,000. Yeah, we're pretty high up. We don't need to go any higher. We can just start turning now to waypoint 4. It's 11 minutes. Well, it's also 91 miles, and it's actually... We're now starting to return back to Romond Air Base. And... yeah, looks good. See a little town out there in Sinai. A little bit of agriculture that they're trying to grow something to feed themselves. That's not big enough for any commercial agriculture, obviously, down there, but it's a little something. See a little port town. Now, this branch of the Red Sea, by the way, does actually... This is what will connect up into the Suez Canal. We might even see where the area where we actually had the carrier do its operation in the first tour video, where we took off from the Suez Canal. So you'll see that entrance. You might be able to see that entrance from this altitude, but right around by the time we see that is when we'll be actually peeling off to go to Romond Air Base. Speaking of. Yeah, we're roughly on course. That's good. Fact. Aha! So right just in front of my canopy bow, it's going to be passing right underneath of it. That is actually the entrance to the Suez Canal up there. And we'll catch it again once the it passes the canopy bow. It is crazy to think that it seems like we're flying pretty slow up here, but we're actually going like almost like 375 knots up here, and that's, I believe, calibrated airspeed, or it's not true airspeed, or true ground speed rather. So start shifting this way, slowly turning to the right. Oh, there it is. So again, you can kind of see the Suez Canal entrance there, and that's the first lake that you stop off on your way up to the Mediterranean up there. There's, I said, there it is again. There's the entrance. Alright. We're only 5 minutes out now. What's our fuel situation like? Okay. Fuel is still pretty good. We don't want to waste... we still want to be reasonably careful with it, because we don't want to wait... We'll wait until we're heading up on waypoint 5 before we start burning a whole lot. Because we don't want to accidentally burn a whole lot, overshoot the base, and then run out. Because that can happen with me. Because I know I can be an airhead sometimes like that. So there's that out there. Don't believe there's any air bases we're going to be running across. Could actually push the throttles a little bit higher. We'll level out right now. Yeah, it's our course deviation line that's shifting over now to the left of our flight path marker, but we don't really need to be too concerned about the actual course. So there's the rest of the canal. So there's the one of the entrances and exits over there. There's then the larger of the two right lakes, and there's this little mini port and lakes complex over here. And I do believe somewhere out there is where the other exit is, near Port Said, because that up ahead is, believe it or not, actually the Mediterranean. So there's probably something out that way. Somewhere probably, it's probably being obscured by my canopy bow, but there's probably, I think the Port Said and the Mediterranean side of the Suez Canal is over there. Which means it's time to soon go pop and get ourselves back to Vermont Air Base with waypoint 5. Oh, wait, we overshot it. My bad. Okay, so yeah, so I guess there is a little bit more further north we want to go to. Oh, that's right, because we do want to head up the coast. So let's go here real quick. There we go. So I did remember there's actually a couple of interesting spots on the coastline I wanted to show before we headed back home. And we still have a decent bit of fuel we want to burn off, so we're not doing too bad on that. See here. Okay, now that we're... Okay, yeah, it's, I think it's covered up by that haze, but I think our air base is out that way. I'm sorry, the Suez Canal exit is out there. And then over here along the coast, you have this barrier... I want to say it's the barrier island. We have this island right here. They have this, like, these smaller inner coastways. So, agricultural area. Okay. Now let's see here. I don't believe... We're still quite a bit away from Israel and the Gaza Strip, I believe. There's all these sort of little smaller port towns along the coast. Right there. go ahead and swap back to our original, our previously stated intent of heading back to a remote airbase right now. Get the burners going a little bit. Get our speed up. Good, alright. And I will say, even though this is the quote-unquote flat part of the Sinai Peninsula, you can definitely see that, yeah, that's true along the coastline, but even when you start getting, like, a little bit inside from the coast, you actually do get these you get these smaller mountains out here. Now, granted, your bigger mountains are going to be south of the Sinai Peninsula, but you actually have a decent amount of mountains even, like, relatively close to the northern coastline. Plus you have the occasional spot of, like, greenery and the lake over there. Don't see your air base out there, so I think there's one more waypoint we have to navigate to after this. This is just getting us lined up for that air base. Alright, less than a minute to our waypoint. Alright. Now we're trying to navigate to our airbase itself, which is a little bit, northeast of here, I believe. At least that's what it's telling me down here. Makes sense, because that's the coastline up there. Obviously, I don't think that's... So we're definitely approaching Israel, because the terrain's starting to be starting to get a little more green. That might be the Gaza Strip out there, not 100% certain. It's a little hard to tell. From this high up and this far out, it's a little hard to tell, but that probably is it out there. That's one of the... That's not Ramon Air Base, but that is one of the Israeli border air bases right there. So we came off the burners. We're at 8,000 pounds. So that's perfect. Or 7,000 pounds. Total. Although it's reading 8,000 on the gauge. Whatever. I don't care. We're going to definitely have enough gas to get back, and that's all that really matters. Alright. Well. ATC. Ramon Air Base, inbound.
Colt 1-1, inbound. Colt 1-1, fly heading 360, Fort 9, QFE 27.83, runway 25, to pattern altitude.
Okay, so it wants us to head north, so that we're lined up for runway 25, okay? Which makes sense. See, now I see what it's trying to say. So it wants us to land on runway 25. We want to land on the reciprocal, which is runway 06. Really just because we can. Although we could. Let's see here. Let's move forward. Let's see if we can find the airbase from up here first. Sit all the way back. Because we are near. I know we're near, just a matter of how close. How close, and is the canopy bow actually blocking it? Because that's also something that happens, I've noticed, sometimes quite a bit when you're flying. You're looking around, you don't find it, you know it's near, and then all of a sudden you move the canopy a little bit, and it actually is there. So it's saying it's behind us. Hold on. Behind us by 10 miles. Oh, there it is. So that was the airbase we were talking about. Okay, then we actually are coming in on this runway 25. That was the airbase we were looking for. It's like, oh, that's not the airbase. Yes, it was. Goes to show you how much, because this is literally the first time I've flown out of it. And, I don't normally fly the F-15C, and I'm used to having TACAN, so I would use the TACAN beacon heading, and it's a little more, I understand how to read that a little bit more. Okay, so we're not too bad. There we are, now we're on landing. Which is actually true, because it's actually good, because now we actually are landing on the proper runway, so...
Colt 1-1, request navigation assistance.
Turn off jamming.
Colt 1-1, DCS, you're heading 246.
That's right. Yep, that's the right airbase. 7,000 pounds. Yep. 7,000 pounds on the dot now, so that's right. The fuel gauge is right. It's good. So about half internal fuel, which is good. Should make landing a bit easier. Just need to... Now the question is, which runway does it want me to land on? Or which runway is the ILS gonna set me up for? So it's saying our... So we did actually capture the ILS beacon. And we are right and high. Okay. And now we are centered. So it wants us to land on the right runway, which is gonna be interesting. As I believe the right one-way was the shorter of the two, so we better get down slow and on speed as we descend. Air brake out. Get as slow as we can. Once we drop below 250, we'll do gear, and then 200 we'll drop flaps. I think that's the general procedure. I'll drop them both now, I guess. Request landing.
Colt 1-1. Request landing. Colt 1-1. Clear to land. Runway 25.
Now we're a little bit low. Power to raise up. See, they just usually say, I just heard runway 25. I didn't hear anything about a runway 25 right. Okay, so it wants us to be a little bit higher, so we'll just like fly relatively steady. I think our AOA is good. Zoom out a bit, because we also want to be careful about our vertical velocity. I usually, when I'm trying to land, I usually try to keep my vertical velocity down to like less than 1. Anything more than 1 and the aircraft, you slam down the gear too hard and it'll damage the gear. But we're also trying at this point to be very slow so that we can actually land. Okay, we need a little more power. Can't afford to land that slow right now. Cut power. We're about going over the threshold. Flare to reduce. Okay. Alright, we should be fine. Okay, yeah, we're hitting the rear engines with that. Okay, we should be good. Okay, so I was a little too paranoid about not having enough runway. Let's check the rear of the aircraft. Yeah, we're fine. Alright, so our one gear is a little, bonked. We're still able to move. Crew chief's gonna yell at us, but, oh well. So that's it. That was the tour of the Sinai Peninsula. If I had to do it over, if I had to do that landing over again, I'd probably drop even more fuel, or even take just 2 bags instead of 3. That way, there's less drag. Yeah, there'd be less drag, and then less drag, less weight on landing. Plus, then able to come back with a little bit less fuel. So, anyways, that's it for the Sinai tours for the moment. We'll give this map another. Probably I'll do a proper full series of tour videos on this map. After like a year or two, I want to give South Atlantic and Sinai both like a year or two after they release to fully flesh out and then do a tour video. Just because I've noticed with the whenever a new map gets released, whoever makes it, if it's Razbam, ED, whoever, OnReTech, OnReTech is doing this one. I know it's Ugra Media is doing like Normandy and Syria. I've noticed that like there's always like first map release is decent, but then like you give it like even just like a year or two, like a year, and like it's completely changed and there's a lot of new content, and then you give it 2 years and it's like awesome. So with that, this is LockOS signing out, and I'll see you for more DCS content in the future, and hopefully some Star Citizen content once they decide to release 3.19.1. Until then, have fun.